So we got quite a few interesting things to talk about today on the Transformers Slag podcast. We have the fourth quarter and yearly report from Hasbro through their financial call that they had with all of their investors, as well as some interesting tidbits in there that might talk about the future of Transformers with video game stuff. So let's jump into it like we always do here on the Transformers Slag podcast and make sense of it all. And yeah, Chris Cox had the financial report with the investors. A lot of it was just typical corporate stuff. Long story short, Hasbro didn't have a really good Q4. And a lot of the surface level stuff that you guys have been reading online doesn't really show that, because the only way you could see it, so you pull up the 19-page report of the yearly report with the Q4 in it. And I mean, they had a 17% decline in Q4. So to simplify that, they had a 17% decline during holiday seasons, during times when sales should be up. So if you have a 17% decline during the time when you should be making the most money throughout the year, oh boy, like that's a tough one. Of course, that's like an overall decline. All their different brands, all their different stuff, all segmented into one thing. But when you kind of pick it apart, oh, hey, their main brands only had a 7% decline. So that includes Transformers, G.I. Joe and stuff. Partner brands, only a 4% decline, which is like, the Marvels, the Star Wars. Obviously the other stuff that got hit was probably stuff like their board game divisions. Probably people weren't buying board games as much, or, you get deeper into that. But the only thing that went up for them was their Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming stuff, which is their TCG stuff with Magic the Gathering and their digital gaming stuff with what they're trying to do with D&D, and of course all the digital gaming stuff that they have going on there. We'll get into that in a moment, because that's related to everything. But yeah, it's not great, and Chris Cox, during this financial call and this huge report that he put out, is stuff that when you read it, you have to pretty much be someone who has not been paying attention all this time. The whole thing is like, playing to win strategy, which is so silly. It's like, we're all playing to win. This isn't like, oh, only now we're playing to win. So, and profitable franchises and how they're going to focus on their profitable franchises. Shouldn't they have been doing that already? Aging up, increasing the play and collectible appeal of fans over the age of 13. They've been doing that already for the past couple of years. And part of that, unfortunately, reading between the lines, is price increases. It goes to something where, hey, we used to charge for a Marvel Legends figure $14.99, but now we know it's adult men that are buying it, and they have credit cards and they have disposable income, and now it's not a birthday present that might happen only once a year. We could ask double that. So that's kind of a scary one for us in terms of investments. They have their everyone plays thing, including girls in emerging markets. Okay, how is that going to make you money, though? I mean, if girls don't care about these brands, what are you going to do to make people appeal to it? In all honesty, it's very difficult. Digital and direct, building video game services and e-commerce. We're going to get into that in a moment. I feel that really could be a lot of the future. And partner scaling. And it's just, again, same thing. It's just kind of focusing on their partnerships, be it retailers or that of companies or licensing. And that I also feel is going to be a large part of the future too. Kind of just to go into that one quickly for a second, I think we're going to see a lot more store exclusives. I think we're going to see a lot more direct-to-market stuff through Hasbro Pulse. I think we're going to see a lot more lean on licensing. Those are all the safest directions for Hasbro when it's going to come to survival of any of their toy brands. They are so much more safer to have Walmart foot the bill on an exclusive line than it is for them to manufacture it themselves, put it through their distributor, and have it shipped out to every Walmart, Target, Toys R Us in the USA, GameStop, et cetera, Walgreens. I could go on, mom and pop shops, where they might get stuck with that inventory if distributors aren't interested. And then, of course, the middleman and all of that. So it's so much safer. You meet with Walmart, you agree on, let's do this Toxitron collection, and then they buy all the inventory up front, and then it's their problem if it doesn't sell well. And, there has been low sales in the past of some of these segmentations and these partner capsules, but in general, they keep coming back. It's like, oh, hey, Speedia did okay, but a lot of stuff went on clearance. They came back. Oh, hey, this Space Pirate stuff, this Toxitron stuff, it did okay. They keep coming back. Amazon, they keep coming back, even though some of this stuff always ends up on clearance. So the partnerships clearly are going to be a safer bet for them because it's inventory they don't have to worry about. And I mean, when they put it on Hasbro Pulse in their limited numbers, it always sells out, so they don't have to worry about it. And then licensing, licensing again, it's another company going, hey, we want to use the Transformer brand, and we're going to pay you X amount of money, and then we're going to manufacture it, we're going to design it, we're going to make it, and it's not your problem, and we just give you a wad of cash. They're totally fine with that. I mean, Hasbro themselves are in that kind of position when it comes to Marvel brands and the Star Wars brand through what they do with their partnership with Disney, where they just go, hey, Marvel, we want to pay for the license, and then we're going to take the risk on manufacturing, design, and doing all these products. And if this Spider-Man toy doesn't sell well, we're stuck with it, but you still got the money for the licensing. So they kind of want to be in that Disney situation with some of their branding. They already are in a lot of cases. I mean, they already license out Transformers and G.I. Joe and Power Rangers, and it would be no surprise if they want to, expand that even more. And that will be probably a big future of the brand too. Already, look, Gem and the Holograms. They put out a license for it. Loyal Subject did the Gem and the Holograms doll. It's a Walmart exclusive, so you got that double down there where it's like, hey, Loyal Subject, they paid a license to Hasbro to use Gem and the Holograms. Then they made a deal with Walmart to make it a Walmart exclusive, so they will, have to deal with all the inventory. And it worked out for everybody. That Gem doll sold out completely, and Walmart's happy, Loyal Subject is happy, and Hasbro is happy. So that's just a micro example of it, but I could see that being much more. And I know there's a lot of people that don't like store exclusives and stuff like that. I feel ya, but sometimes you have to think about the survivability of some brands. Gem and the Holograms had a very weak survivability after a very bad movie a couple years back that just didn't help their growth and anything. And this is a small way to do it. And while Transformers is far from weak, it's easily Hasbro's strongest toy brand, without a doubt. And but it is something where in certain areas there could be some ways to fix it. One thing that I didn't like that they said here, operations, supply chain, and AI-driven advancements are going to be a huge part of the innovation of the company. I already see they use ChatGPT for a lot of copy and packaging stuff. That's just kind of the way of the future, unfortunately. You can't stop big corporations from wanting to outsource to stuff. It's just how it is. Morally, it's one thing, but I mean, big corporations have been doing unmoral stuff for a very, very, very long time. And if they're going to ask a computer now to type up a bio for a Jazz figure that's totally incorrect, they're going to do that instead of asking a person to do it. And that's probably the least humanely immoral thing that they could do compared to some of the other stuff that they do sometimes. But yeah, so there's that. And I mean, I could go on, but then we get into, and this is kind of the big topic when we get into the whole digital stuff, and Chris Cox the CEO of Hasbro, did a little mention of, we have many new digital collaborations in the works. I'm especially excited to announce that one today, being a fan personally of the team of these games. And of course, Hasbro and Saber Interactive are doing a collaboration on an all-new game partnership developed by their team after they've just went off their 2024 mega hit Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. So they're planning to combine high octane single play action and amazing multiplayer with the Saber Swarm Tech, a new AAA title based on one of their tentpole IPs, and that is that. So this could be anything. If it's one of their big IPs, it could be Transformers, it could be G.I. Joe, it could be Magic the Gathering. There's no promise that this could be Transformers, but this does open it up to the sense that while it might not be Transformers for this game, it could lead to more later on if this relationship works out and they do find success with it. One reason you could say that it might be a Transformer game is they mentioned the Saber Swarm tech, which for people that might be confused what that is, the Saber Swarm tech, it's a game engine that Saber kind of developed throughout the years, although other companies kind of had something similar. And it uses a lot of deep physics, for lack of better words, deep physics for how vehicles interact with terrains for extreme accuracy, especially when you're talking competitive play to avoid glitches and weird gaming anomalies and stuff like that. So it's really about how vehicles, complexly interact with terrains. That's probably the simplest way to explain it. And when you think about that, vehicles and terrains, could that be Transformers? Maybe it's because Transformers have such weird physics with the transformation and moving around. Maybe that's it. Could be. Or maybe it's G.I. Joe and with tanks. Who knows? It could be Magic the Gathering with, stuff from, Dominaria and big vehicles from Urza. Who knows? But the point is that it is something that could lead to more in the future. And this company, Saber, they also own 3D Realms. They own, Mad Head Games, New World Interactive, Nimble Giant. So they have a huge crew of people that even if Saber themselves ain't doing it, they have a lot of other smaller companies under their umbrella that could also be making some pretty awesome Transformer games that aren't kind of the shovelware titles we've seen in the past already. No offense to those shovelware titles. They're fun, but they're not AAA games. They're not a War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron that we unfortunately have that muscle memory of and always kind of use as a comparison and benchmark. So we will see what happens with that. But I've always said, Transformers, part of its success in the future will come from video games. If us hardcore fans, us fans between the late 20s to in our 50s, we grew up in the toy era. Toys were still something asked for birthdays and Christmases. So we still have that nostalgia for that, and we don't need outside stuff to make us want more Transformer stuff. Newer generations, kids that are, Gen Alpha, some of the Zoomers, if you're a kid who's 7 right now, you're not interested in a plastic transforming robot that has a puzzle play element. When you have Minecraft, when you have Fortnite, when you have all this gaming stuff that's at your fingertips, some of it extremely affordably. And when you tell your parent, hey, I want that Transformer toy, and that deluxe Transformer is $24.99, when a digital purchase for a cell phone game might be $5.99 or free, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one. So I felt that always going into the gaming space with Hasbro's IPs is always the safest bet to pretty much groom that audience for the future. If you give some nostalgia to a kid where they loved this Transformer game that they had when they were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, by the time they're a 15-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, if there's an action figure out there of their nostalgia, then they're going to want to own it. They're going to want to buy it. And that's kind of the thing where, one of the reasons why a lot of our old Transformer gaming stuff we've gotten over the past 5 years have all used that Authentics kind of look is because they're trying to create a normalization of the G1 design with a younger demographic. That way, even when they are in their 30s, they want to own a G1 Optimus Prime looking toy. And I mean, it gets deep into the weeds of the psychology of that when it comes to marketing and everything. I'm not going to get too crazy into that, but it's just something where at the end of the day, this report pretty much, to sum it up quickly, they didn't do well in Q4. Overall, they didn't do well, but the look to the future is going to be video gaming. They even mentioned they're getting out of TV and film, and they're going to be investing more into digital gaming and themed hotels and cruise ships and quick service restaurants, which is wild when you even read that and go what does that mean? Are we going to get Transformer hotels? Might be even more in the Asian countries, much like we saw with the Ark, restaurant and stuff like that. But it is something where you have to ask yourself, okay, where are we going from here? And how do we keep our brand alive? What's going to keep Transformers going? Clearly, Transformers 1 was an amazing movie, but no one went to see it on the mainstream. How do we fix that? What do we do to fix that? Do we need to really focus more on where the eyeballs are? I've said that before. Go where the eyeballs are. And the eyeballs are video games. The eyeballs are cell phones. The eyeballs are social media and streaming services. And you gotta be there. You can't be on traditional television, and you can't be in the toy aisle and hope that those two things are gonna move things. I work in the comic industry a lot, and you can't be in the comic industry. It's not gonna be where you're gonna move stuff. It's sad but true. I mean, that's a whole other long-winded discussion for another time. Maybe we'll save it for a live stream or something, but when we have 2 hours to talk about it. But at the end of the day, this is kind of what's going on here. I hope you guys kind of like take something away from this. I'll link in the description the full 19-page report. It's a lot, and no one is talking about some of the stuff read in between the lines of this 19-page report. But at the end of the day, it was not a good Q4. It really wasn't. And when you're talking a holiday season for a toy company and it's not a good Q4, that's rough. And I know that like Hasbro through Wizards of the Coast, they're going to really be doubling down to kind of get, stuff up. Great example. Their Wizard of the Coast line already is doing well. They're going to be releasing a Final Fantasy set soon for Magic the Gathering, and they already have slated that it's going to break every record in their company. A video game that has nostalgia for people who grew up on video games. And think about it, we're complaining about a HasLab that's $300 for like a big HasLab item. They're asking for some of these 100-box cardboard, card boxes, some of the collectors, commanders and everything. Some of those are going to be like $300, $400. So they're going to be printing money using an IP that's video game connected, using their Magic the Gathering system, for lack of better words, through Wizard of the Coast, and they're going to print money through it. And you don't think they're going to pay attention to that and go, there might be something here. There might be something here. So let me know what you think about all of this. And thanks again for listening on the Transformer Slag podcast and keeping you educated, entertained, and informed. Probably wasn't a lot of images on the screen here because this is just more business talk. But at the end of the day, a lot of really interesting stuff to talk about. And I feel that the future of Transformers will definitely be digital. It'll definitely be video games. There still will be toys because at the end of the day, it's all funneling back to toys. But it'll be digital. It'll be video games. And we're still going to have a great time. We'll still have so much stuff to talk about. And we'll still have Transformers to transform in our physical hands. But video games will be a big portion of it, in my opinion. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk to you real soon.